we move along, this will be recorded and the recording will be shared out to all of the people who enrolled for this webinar. Just to start out, for anyone who wants to turn off their sound for notifications during the webinar, here are the instructions to do so. We do highly recommend it. It can be distracting. Caroline, if you don't have a headset on, definitely recommend shutting off the notifications so it doesn't come through while you're speaking. Can everybody hear me okay? Is there any issues? I did do my mic check, but just quick in the chat. If you're hearing me, just say hi, hello. Not getting any responses. Is anyone hearing me? Caroline, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
perfectly.
Okay, great. So I'm
Is my
starting to
sound
get some.
okay as well?
Yes, you sound great. Thank you.
Okay, perfect.
So, just to get started off here, a copy of the slides and the video recording will be sent to everyone who enrolled for the webinar. So not for those who only attended, but also those who enrolled. However, the certificate of attendance is only available to those of you who stay till the end. We will be sharing out a QR code at the end and a link so that you can get your certificate of attendance. Just a reminder, this certificate of attendance link is only good for 24 hours. So if you do not click that link and get your certificate, we do not hand them out after that. You have to do it during that time frame. If you experience any difficulty while you're trying to do that, contact us immediately. I will be sharing out some emails for you throughout this and at the end so that you can reach out if you have difficulties, but please don't wait. Let us know so that we can get that processed for you. In addition, and lastly on this one, it does take several days for us to send out those certificate of attendance. They are done manually, so we do ask that you give us 4 full business days to get those out. If after 4 business days you have not received them, please feel free to reach out to us after that, and we will see what happened in the process. Just a little bit about EIT for everyone. We are an engineering school. That is what we specialize in. Our courses are engineering. Our instructors are engineers, people who have worked in the field, people who are experts in their field and experts in the areas that they teach. People like Caroline, who will be speaking today. She's an instructor here. She is an expert in her field. She also holds a doctorate degree, which many of our instructors do. So that is important to EIT. We also pull from talent around the world. So our instructors are not just located in Australia, which is where you'll find our campuses, but they are all over the world. So we are able to pull from the top people in every industry. And we're very proud of that. We are a fully accredited school. Everything except for our professional certificates are accredited. Our professional certificates are professional development courses, great for filling skill gaps and maintaining professional licensing. Everything else is going to be accredited and recognized so many places under so many different qualifications. We will provide links to that in the slides for anyone who's interested in learning more about our accreditation. Our delivery model is fantastic. We've had a lot of years to establish it. We are both an online and on-campus school, but our online programs are delivered via live interactive sessions, and we have virtual and remote labs that allow you to get those practical hands-on exercises that are so important to engineering. Again, this information will be in the slides that we hand out to everyone after the session. So if any of this information is important to you, it will be available to you. At this point, I didn't introduce myself, just so you know. My name is Maria Davidson. I am a course advisor for the United States and North America and some of Nigeria. So if you've not heard from me and you're in my region, inquire about a course and you will hear from me eventually. With no further ado, Caroline, I will hand this over to you.
Thank you, Maria. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So welcome everyone. It's a real pleasure for me to be here again in another technical webinar from EIT. And today we will talk about how to discover the future of urban living through sustainable infrastructure. Okay. So a brief introduction about myself. My name is Caroline. I'm Brazilian. I'm now in Rio, Brazil, and I'm a civil engineer with an expertise in sustainable construction and environmental engineering. Okay, so my master's and my PhD was in environmental engineering. With this focus on optimizing the construction material selection and to really improve the decision-making process of construction projects. Okay, I have held research and teaching roles in different institutions already. Here in Brazil, also in Universidade Rovira e Virgílio in Spain, Western Sydney University in Australia, and Universidade de Santiago de Chile, which is another country here in South America. And now I'm very proud to be an instructor at EIT. And we are always focused on preparing students for real world challenges while advancing sustainability in the built environment, because we know that this topic is very important and we will talk a lot about that today. Unfortunately, the construction industry is really responsible for a huge amount of environmental impacts. So it's our responsibility as professionals associated with the construction industry to try to minimize these negative impacts. Okay. So without further ado, let's really start this technical webinar. And the agenda for today is this one. We will start with an introduction. Then we will talk about the different sustainability pillars. And we will talk about the sustainable development goals. Okay, this topic is very important and it has been discussed worldwide. We will talk about that because this is totally related with sustainable infrastructure and smart cities. Okay. Then I will explain more deeply the concept of smart city, and we will discuss some methodologies and tools that we can use, we can apply to really improve our projects, the outcomes of our projects, to be able to create smart cities, sustainable infrastructure, and sustainable projects. Okay? So at the end of this presentation, we will have a Q&A session. Okay, so if you have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to use the chat box and write your question. And in this Q&A session, I will try to answer all the questions. Okay. So let's officially start. And as I said before, throughout this webinar, we will explore how smart city technologies and sustainable practices can be applied. Oh, someone is saying that my voice is not clear. Is it okay for you, Maria? Yes? Okay.
Yes, I can hear you just fine. It's very clear.
Okay. So I hope you can fix this. I don't know what
Said,
it can be.
unfortunately, we can't do anything if the voice isn't clear on your side. I always recommend logging out and logging back in if you're having trouble hearing or seeing.
Perfect. Thank you. So yeah, before we dive into the different methodologies, the different tools we will discuss today, it's crucial to understand the urgent challenges that cities around the world are facing nowadays. Okay, because these challenges are driving the need for smarter and more sustainable infrastructure solutions. Okay, so first we have climate change, because global temperatures are rising, you know that, and this is intensifying extreme weather events. So we are seeing more frequent and severe storms, heat waves, wildfires, and all of which put a huge pressure on urban infrastructure. Okay, so cities must adapt to these changes while also working to reduce carbon footprints, pollution, the waste generation, and so on. Another important point is the population growth and rapid urbanization, okay? Because we have been discussing this in several scientific papers, in different meetings around the world, because uncontrolled urbanization is leading to increased pollution, traffic, and social inequality. So there are different research papers already saying that by 2050, nearly 70% of the world's population will live in cities, and of course, this brings opportunities for economic growth and other topics. It also creates several challenges because it will increase pollution, heavier traffic congestion, greater social inequality. So many cities are already struggling to provide adequate housing, transportation, public services. So this is a real global problem. And finally, the resource scarcity, because the lack of drinking water and growing demand for energy are challenges for many cities nowadays. Okay, so these three factors, climate change, population growth, and resource scarcity, highlight the urgent need for innovative and sustainable infrastructure solutions. Okay, and to face these challenges, cities need to evolve. So it's very clear that cities cannot continue to function as they have in the past. Okay, to face these challenges, cities really need to change the way they are organized. Okay, so the adoption of smart technologies is no longer our choice, but an urgent necessity to improve resource management, reduce environmental impact, and improve citizens' quality of life. So it's very important to highlight this here because the smart cities, sustainable infrastructure, digital innovations, sometimes we think about these topics as important trends. So everyone wants to talk about that. Of course, they are trends, but they are much more than that. They are essential transformations that will define the future of urban living. Okay, so we really need to try to integrate technology with sustainable design so that we can create urban environments that are resilient, adaptable, and more efficient. This is our idea here today, for example, in this technical webinar to provide this kind of discussion. Okay. But let's move on to really understand what sustainable development truly means, because we normally use this expression, but it's very important to know how it connects to these real world challenges we are facing worldwide nowadays. Okay, so what is sustainable development? First of all, the development that is capable of meeting the needs of the current generation without compromising the ability to meet the needs of future generations. So of course, we need to understand the functionality and the necessity of the present to develop our projects, to develop our infrastructure, but we need already to consider the needs of future generations, because when we are talking about, especially when we are talking about the construction industry, the lifespan of projects can last several years, several decades, or hundreds of years. So it's very important for us to create projects that can adapt over time. Okay. So when we are talking about sustainable development, we are talking about the development that does not exhaust resources for the future. And with regard to the construction of buildings and civil engineering works, the concept of sustainability is related to the way in which the attributes of activities, products, or services associated with this sector contribute to the maintenance of the ecosystem. But there is a common misconception when we talk about sustainability, because people normally think about sustainability as a concept just related to environmental aspects. Of course, we need to consider environmental aspects. As I said before, we need to try to minimize the environmental impacts worldwide because the construction industry is really responsible for a huge amount of environmental impacts, okay? But it's important to understand that sustainability is a concept based on three different pillars. So we need to consider the economy, people, and also the environment, okay? It's very important to balance all these three pillars, and we will talk about that, how to balance, how to find this balancing approach, because otherwise our project will not be sustainable, truly sustainable, okay? So let's talk about the impacts generated by the construction industry. There is a strong association between construction and the three main pillars of sustainability. As you can see here, the construction sector is responsible for generating 2 to 3 billion tons of construction waste per year. So it totally relates to environmental impacts, okay? But the construction industry also contributes to 5 to 7% of the total gross domestic product and at least 7% of the employed population in most countries. So again, many economic and social aspects related to the construction industry worldwide, okay? Another important point to be highlighted here, the development of sustainable construction projects is a task linked to multiple criteria. So a considerable amount of time is consumed in the early stages of the construction project, comparing different materials, resources, and construction methods. And that's why it's very important for us to find more innovative approaches to conceive our construction projects, because we need to be able to analyze all the data and information regarding our project since the early stages of the construction project, for us to be able to carry out different kinds of simulations, analysis, to really find the most suitable solution for our project. So if we continue to use, imagine, we can use manual drafting. This is okay. You can follow all the technical standards, follow everything that is required in the region, in the country. So your project can be approved, but you are using an outdated approach to conceive projects. So for sure, you will lose many opportunities to test different alternatives, to carry out simulations, to really think about different aspects of your project simultaneously, okay? And finally, it's important to highlight that traditionally, design decisions are not based on the potential impacts of construction. Actually, design decisions are often based on satisfying only technical requirements or economic limits without deeply considering environmental and social aspects. Unfortunately, this has been the reality of the construction industry worldwide. Nowadays, as I said before, sustainability is a trend. Everyone is talking about that. But in practice, we continue to see many companies, many civil engineering firms just focusing on satisfying technical requirements, and also the economic limits, the schedule and the budget imposed by the client. But they, unfortunately, they don't deeply consider environmental and social aspects in their decisions. And again, it's our responsibility as professionals associated with the construction industry to try to change this mindset, okay? And when we talk about sustainability, as I said before, there are three different pillars, okay? So we can consider environmental impacts, social impacts, and economic impacts. So I put some examples here, but of course, this list can be so much bigger, okay? But when we are thinking about environmental impacts, we can talk about air pollution, climate change, water pollution, waste in landfills, burning of fossil fuels, generation of dust, and etc. When we are talking about social impact, we can consider workforce development, relocation of local residents, health risks due to waste, impacts on comfort, neighborhood burdens, degradation of cultural heritage, and so on. And finally, if we are talking about economic impacts, we can consider the costs directly related to purchasing or renting the construction site, generating income for small businesses, construction costs, energy operation costs, water operating costs, taxes, professional fees, and so on. So if you deeply analyze this list here, as I said before, there are multiple other examples, but if you pay attention, there are some examples that are related to negative impacts, but other ones can be considered positive impacts. So, for example, generating income for small businesses. It can be a great impact, okay? So, when we are talking about impacts from construction, it's important to highlight that we want to minimize the occurrence of negative impacts and at the same time maximize the probability of occurrence of positive impacts. Okay, so that's our focus here. But how to consider the three pillars of sustainability in a balanced way? This question is very tricky actually, because if you try to find the explanation, the definition of a balance, you will find definitions like this one: a state where things are of equal weight or force, or to give several things equal amounts of importance, time, or money so that a situation is successful, or the state where things exist in equal amounts or are of equal importance. But actually, when we are thinking about balance in this context of sustainability, sustainable construction, sustainable infrastructure, I prefer this definition here. Balance is a condition in which different elements are equal or in the correct proportions. And why? This definition is particularly relevant because it acknowledges that while sustainability is built on these three fundamental pillars, so we are talking about environmental, social, and economic aspects, of course, not all projects will weigh these aspects equally. So instead of applying the same weight to each pillar in every situation, the goal here is to find the right proportion that aligns with the project's context, the project's needs, the client's needs, and also the long-term sustainability goals. Because as we saw before, we need to consider the current situation, but also the future generations. So we need to consider the long-term goals related to sustainability. So for example, some projects may need to emphasize one pillar more than another. We can imagine in low income housing developments. So in this case, the social pillar will take priority to ensure affordability, accessibility, even if some environmental offs are necessary. But on the other hand, if we are considering large scale infrastructure project, for example, environmental sustainability might be the primary concern, okay, because of the scale of impact on natural resources. So it's important to consider that the weights may vary, okay? But while the weights may vary, no sustainability pillar should ever be ignored. I think that's the main point here, because a project that maximizes economic efficiency but disregards environmental responsibility will lead to long-term ecological damage, okay? Or for example, a highly energy efficient building that neglects social considerations. For example, the team did not consider accessibility or safety. So in this case, this project is a highly energy efficient building, but it fails to deliver a truly sustainable solution because it doesn't account for social aspects. Okay, so when we are talking about construction, achieving this balance can mean using materials that are both cost effective but also environmentally friendly, or ensuring that designs enhance energy efficiency but without sacrificing affordability, or implementing smart planning to reduce waste, to optimize resources, but at the same time thinking about the economy and the environment. Okay, so the point here is to understand that sustainability in construction is not about applying the same formula to every project, but the idea here is to adapt the approach to achieve the best possible outcome for all the three pillars of sustainability in all our projects. Okay. And another important point to be highlighted here is how do these pillars connect, the sustainability pillars connect with global sustainability efforts, particularly through the Sustainable Development Goals, okay? Because the Sustainable Development Goals are a set of 17 global goals, as you can see in this image, okay? And these goals, these global goals, were established by the United Nations to address major global challenges. So we want to improve climate change, inequality, resource management, economic growth, and so on. So the idea of the Sustainable Development Goals is to serve as a universal framework to guide governments, industries, and societies towards a more sustainable, inclusive, and resilient future. Okay. So the three pillars of sustainability are directly present in the Sustainable Development Goals. And as I said before, the Sustainable Development Goals provide this international framework. Okay. So the specific goals encourage governments, industries, and society to work together to achieve this more sustainable future by 2030. So that's the main goal. Okay. And since we are talking about smart infrastructure, smart cities, I will highlight some specific SDGs, okay, because they are more related with our theme here today. So first of all, the Sustainable Development Goal number 6, drinking water and sanitation. So the goal is to ensure the availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all. So sustainable management of water resources is essential for smart cities and sustainable infrastructure. So this goal number 6 addresses the need to ensure adequate drinking water and sanitation for all, as well as promoting water use efficiency and protecting water-related ecosystem. And in smart cities, this means using innovative technologies to monitor and manage water use, reducing losses, and ensuring more efficient distribution. Okay, so we need to consider that in our projects. Okay. Oh, sorry, I changed some. Okay. I changed it a little bit to this. Okay, now it's come back for me. We can also think about the goal number 7. Okay, so oh, Maria, this is a little bit different for me, the presentation now. I don't know what happened. Let me try to.
You took control, which is totally fine, so it should look different for you now.
Okay, sorry.
No worries. Is this where you want to be?
Yeah, it's a little bit small. I don't know what changed it, but I think it's possible to read. I'm not able to. Oh, maybe no, it's not here. Okay, sorry. I will continue like that. It's okay. Um,
Sorry, just
so
real quick, if you click on the three dots and it gives you the option to magnify the slide for yourself, the little three dots on the bottom of the gray
okay.
portion.
Oh, perfect. Great, amazing. Thanks so much for this. So sorry, guys. Coming back to the presentation now. Thinking about the goal number 9. This is related to the industry, innovation, and infrastructure. So the goal here is to build resilient infrastructure, promote inclusive and sustainable industrialization, and foster innovation. Okay. So resilient and innovative infrastructure are the basis for the development of smart cities, and this goal number 9 is about promoting inclusive and sustainable industrialization, supported by high quality infrastructure and innovative technological solutions. And in the context of smart cities, this implies the use of technologies such as Internet of Things, intelligent transport systems, and so on. So today we will discuss different kinds of tools and methodologies that we can use in this context of smart cities to assist us in achieving all these sustainable development goals in our projects. Okay? Regarding the goal number 11, sustainable cities and communities. So the main goal here is to make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. So this goal is directly linked to the concept of smart cities with the aim of making urban settlements more inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. And smart cities use technologies to optimize waste management, improve public transport, reduce carbon emissions, and ensure sustainable housing, all with the aim of creating communities that offer a high quality of life and are prepared to face future challenges. So, in this context, we can now understand what is a smart city, okay? So, smart cities are urban centers that integrate technological advances with social and environmental progress through digital and disruptive technologies. So, to be able to create a smart city, of course, we need to use technology, okay? As I said before, if we continue to use manual drafting, it won't be possible for us to really analyze and manage all data and information associated with the project. So we need to use technology, and we need to continue to be up to date because things are evolving so fast. And we need to try to apply these new technologies in our projects to really create smart projects and to achieve this concept of smart city. So the biggest objective here is to provide a better quality of life for all the citizens. And these cities make strategic use of infrastructure, services, information, and communication, combined with efficient urban planning and management. So the idea is that citizens and essential services are interconnected, using clean energy, reusing water resources, and properly treating waste, in addition to promoting the sharing of products, services, and spaces. And they also guarantee ease of mobility and access to high quality public services. Okay, so in essence, when we are talking about smart cities, these cities are not just about implementing advanced technology. They are about leveraging innovation to create more livable, sustainable, and efficient urban environments. Okay, so we need to integrate clean energy, optimize infrastructure, intelligent resources management, and so on. Because smart cities aim to enhance the daily lives of citizens, but at the same time reducing environmental, social, and economic negative impacts. Okay? But to achieve this, to be able to create a smart city, it's very important for us to consider the collaboration between different disciplines. Okay, so collaboration between different engineering disciplines is essential to the success of large scale complex projects. So working together allows solutions to be more efficient, sustainable, and innovative in areas such as civil engineering, electrical engineering, and automation. So, what is the idea here when we are talking about collaboration? Each area will bring a unique perspective and specific knowledge. And when integrated, this will guarantee the creation of better projects, functional and more sustainable projects. Okay? So it's very important for us to consider the multidisciplinarity in our projects. And there are many benefits associated with that, including reducing errors during the design and construction phase, improving communication between teams, optimizing financial and material resources. So well-coordinated projects, which consider all engineering areas, have a lower risk of rework and can achieve higher levels of sustainability and efficiency, which is our goal. Okay. So now let's talk about the different methodologies and tools that we can use to achieve smart infrastructure and to develop real smart cities. Okay. First of all, it doesn't make sense to talk about manual drafting anymore. We need to use software applications to assist us in conceiving new construction projects. So we can use the CAD methodology. You probably have heard about that before. So CAD is an acronym that stands for Computer Aided Design. So what is the idea here? We will use the computer and a specific software application to assist us in the designing process. Okay? But nowadays, there is another methodology which is more comprehensive, more innovative, and that allows us to carry out different kinds of simulations since the early stages of the construction project, since the early phases of the design, okay? And this methodology is the BIM methodology, okay? So BIM stands for Building Information Modeling, and we can use this concept here throughout the whole project lifecycle, since the programming stage, passing through the conceptual design, detailed design, analysis, documentation, and so on, until the operation, maintenance, and renovation of the building or the facility, okay? So the main point here is this word here, information, because the BIM methodology is different from CAD, because in CAD we are focusing on the drawing itself. But here when we are talking about BIM, we are talking about modeling the information of the project, okay? So to be more clear, I put this explanation, this definition of what BIM is. Okay, this explanation is part of the book BIM Handbook, which was written by Chuck Eastman, which is one of the pioneers in this discussion on BIM. Okay, so building information modeling is one of the most promising developments in the architecture, engineering, and construction industries. With BIM technology, one or more accurate virtual models of a building are digitally constructed, and they support design throughout its phases, enabling better analysis and control than manual processes. And when completed, these computer-generated models contain accurate geometry and data necessary to support the construction, manufacturing, and procurement activities through which the building is realized. So the idea is that we will digitally construct our building. We will create a real prototype of our facility to test different alternatives and to really improve all the decisions before going to the construction site. Okay. So here we have a practical example of the differences between CAD and BIM. Here, for example, we are creating a floor plan, okay? So if we want to represent a wall, like here, we will use some parallel lines to represent this wall. But at the end of the day, we are talking about a drawing. This is just a drawing that we can print to be approved, and we can use this to facilitate the construction project. So of course, this is amazing and this is a good technology. But nowadays we have more interesting and more comprehensive approaches. So here, for example, this is a screenshot of Revit, which is one of the most popular software applications based on BIM used worldwide. So we are creating a wall. But what is the difference? We will create this wall in a 3D model, okay? And you will put all the definitions, all the details about the materials, the construction method. So here, for example, we are determining all the layers with each material, the thickness, if this is a structural material or not. And we can consider the thermal mass, the resistance of this wall, and we can put more and more details. So the more data and information you insert in your model, the more realistic your model will be, okay? And when we are using BIM, we are considering parametric design. So what is the idea here? We will create a digital model based on a series of pre-programmed rules or algorithms known as parameters, okay? So we will focus on creating the 3D model, and the 2D drawings will be generated automatically. So if you change something here, for example, if I change the dimensions of this window, I don't need to go back and to change these dimensions in all the floor plans, the section plans. No, I will change these in my 3D model, and this modification will be replicated automatically by the software to all other parts of the project, okay? And as I said before, we can use Autodesk Revit, which is a popular software based on BIM. So this is the interface of Revit. And we use this software application a lot in our courses at EIT. I don't know if you know that, but we have remote labs, so you can access different programs, different digital technologies to create your case studies, to follow the instructions during the lectures, and to use different programs for free for you to be able to learn how to create your construction projects in practice, okay? Another software that we use a lot in our courses is the Autodesk Navisworks. So what is the idea here? Navisworks is used for project coordination, clash detection, 4D simulation. Okay, so the idea is to ensure the integration of the different disciplines and to really improve the construction planning. And finally, another example of a program that we use a lot in our courses is the Dynamo. I don't know if you have heard about that, but Dynamo is a visual programming language, and this is connected with Revit, okay? So we can create our 3D model using Autodesk Revit, and then we can use Dynamo to extend Revit's capabilities by enabling parametric design and also automation, because we will create a visual programming code, okay, to facilitate rapid design iterations. We can carry out a sustainability analysis. We can optimize complex structures. There are many possibilities, okay? So this is the idea of Dynamo. In our courses, you will learn how to create this visual code to improve your model, okay? So the whole idea here is to construct the building first as a digital model and see if everything actually works before physically building it in the construction site. Okay, so again, the more information we insert, the more realistic your 3D model will be, and it will allow you for better analysis and simulations to really improve the decision-making process of your projects, okay? Another important concept that we can use is digital twin. So this is derived from product engineering, and the digital twin concept has rapidly expanded into diverse domains, especially in the construction industry. Okay, so what is the idea here? The digital twin will serve as a real-time digital counterpart of the physical asset throughout its life cycle. So we will have the physical building that was constructed in the construction site, but at the same time, we will continue to insert more and more data and information in our BIM model until we transform this 3D model into a real digital replica, a real digital twin. And the idea is that we will install different sensors and devices based on IoT, artificial intelligence. We will use these sensors and devices in the physical building to collect real-time data, and using programming languages, we will send this information to the digital twin to carry out simulations and to really improve the decision to be made throughout the operational and maintenance stages of the physical building. So both buildings will coexist and feed each other with data and information, okay? The physical one and the digital one. Another important topic here is the Internet of Things. So, for example, when we connect sensors and devices in our building to collect data regarding the temperature of the room, the time people enter or leave the rooms, etc., we are using sensors and devices based on IoT. So the Internet of Things, or IoT, connects devices and sensors in real time, optimizing data collection and analysis in various areas. So we can use this for energy, transportation, public safety. And this connectivity allows smart cities to operate more efficiently and sustainably. Okay, so the idea is that IoT offers greater operational efficiency, reduced waste of resources, and improvement in the quality of services provided to citizens. So some application examples here. We can monitor systems automatically, adjusting lighting, temperature, and security, ensuring energy efficiency and comfort. We can use this for energy management, for example, using IoT to monitor and adjust energy consumption. And we can use this for urban mobility. So IoT sensors will integrate public transport systems, improving route management and monitoring traffic in real time. Regarding smart traffic management, because when we are considering smart cities, we need to focus not only on buildings, okay, residential, commercial, and industrial buildings, but in all other types of infrastructure, including roads, okay? So we need to think about a smart traffic management as well. So traffic management systems in smart cities use advanced technologies, for example, sensors, cameras, and real-time data to monitor and optimize vehicle flow. And these technologies help reduce congestion, improve mobility, and reduce CO2 emissions in urban areas. So the idea is to integrate IoT and automation platforms to allow dynamic decisions to be made in real time, okay? So here we have practical examples. I don't know if you have heard about that, but the Digital Cities Index 2022 was an inaugural ranking of 30 global cities across 4 pillars. So they analyzed connectivity, services, culture, and sustainability. So Copenhagen topped this ranking, okay? And then there was Amsterdam, Beijing, London, and Seoul. So European cities have implemented highly impactful traffic management cities, while Beijing has progressed using applied digital technologies. So they tackled air pollution, optimizing its services, and promoting the sharing economy. So there are already many examples worldwide of smart cities that are trying to use technology in their favor to really improve the decisions and the well-being of the citizens. Okay? Now, it's very important for us to consider material-based computational design because over the past decade, information technologies have had a significant impact on the architecture, engineering, and construction industry. And the concept of material-based computational design emerges in this context. Okay, so when we are talking about computational design, it involves the use of computing to develop designs, which is not exactly the same as digital design, because when we are talking about digital design, this is the example of CAD, okay? We are using the computer tools to assist us in the design process, but we are not explicitly using computation to really improve the decision-making process, okay? So our focus here is to use advanced manufacturing techniques to leverage digital technologies to revolutionize the way structures and components are manufactured in the field of engineering. Okay, so we can improve the levels of precision, customization, and efficiency, enabling engineers to realize complex geometries and optimize the use of materials. Okay, so it's very important for us to use digital technologies in this context, and there are different examples. We will see some of them now. So one of the most important topics here that has been discussed worldwide is the use of 3D printing materials. We can also call this additive manufacturing, okay? So the idea is that we will create components layer by layer from a digital file. We will define all the specifications in a digital file, and then we will send this to a 3D printer to print this 3D component to be used in our construction project. Okay, so this can reduce production costs, labor expenses, time consumption, and workplace accident rate. Okay, and we can reduce the amount of construction waste, taking a significant step towards combating the threat of global warming and positively impacting society and the environment, which is our main focus here. Okay. But besides the 3D printing, we are now talking about 4D printing as well. So this is a revolutionary manufacturing technology that allows the creation of cutting-edge devices that can adapt to their environment. So they will adapt depending on the situation. So in this image here, we can see this sequential process of this 4D printed multi-material gripper, which is grasping a screw, okay? So the gripper is made of responsive materials, and this gripper will change shape when triggered, okay? So it allows the material, the component, to adapt, and in this case, to securely hold the object, the screw, okay? So this transformation is driven by external stimuli. So for example, the materials can adapt depending on heat, moisture, light. So this is the potential of 4D printing in creating self-actuating adaptive structures, and we can use these in robotics, automation, smart manufacturing, and also in construction, okay? So designers can create structures that can self-assemble, change shape, or even repair themselves over time. We can also talk about smart grids, which are intelligent electrical networks that use digital technologies to improve the efficiency, reliability, and sustainability of electricity distribution. Okay, so the idea is that they are interactive and responsive, so they will adjust to real-time energy demands. Okay, and in this case, we will have a greater energy efficiency, facilitated integration of renewable sources, and the ability to quickly detect and correct failures, improving the system reliability. Okay, so for example, the main link between smart grids and buildings is that smart buildings can both consume and generate energy, and this energy can be efficiently managed by the smart grids. So buildings communicate directly with the power grid, informing their consumption or even returning excess energy to the grid. And the combination of smart grids and smart buildings creates a more flexible and resilient electrical system capable of responding to dynamic demands and making the most of renewable energy sources. Okay? So here we have an example of integration. We can use the smart grids to monitor the energy demand in real time and adjust electricity distribution. And the smart buildings will use sensors and automation to automatically adjust electricity use, helping to balance the demand. So buildings that generate their own energy can store or return excess energy to the grid, contributing to the system's sustainability. Okay? So after we discuss all these methodologies, of course, these are some examples, but there are many others. Okay? But it's very important for us to understand that cities and infrastructure projects will face several major challenges that require innovative and sustainable solutions. Okay? It's very beautiful to talk about all of these trends, all of these innovative solutions, but we need to consider all the challenges associated with this application. So, for example, regarding popular growth and urbanization, there is a continuous increase in urban density requiring more efficient infrastructure. So the urban density will continue to increase, and it places a huge pressure on infrastructure, transportation, housing. So to accommodate this growth, cities must adapt the way they develop things, and they need to adopt smart and sustainable planning strategies. We need to consider climate change, okay? Because extreme weather events are intensifying. Okay, so we need to create resilient infrastructure that can withstand these challenges. Okay, we need to consider resource scarcity because greater pressure on water, energy, and waste management is already a reality. Okay, so sustainable design, circular economy principles will be key to ensuring resource efficiency. And finally, cybersecurity, because with increasing connectivity, which is a good thing, the need for protection against cyber attacks also grows. Okay, so protecting data, protecting digital infrastructure from cyber threats is more critical than ever. Okay, so to address these challenges, we must embrace emerging technologies, innovative approaches to urban development to really be able to create a smart and resilient city. Okay, so there are some technological trends that can provide powerful solutions to these challenges. Okay, so we can talk about AI and machine learning, making smarter and more automatic decisions. The use of digital twins, as we discussed before, and we can use this to monitor entire cities in real time, not only a single building, okay? But we can extrapolate this concept to the whole city, improving urban planning and operational efficiency. We can use the 5G and IoT to guarantee full connectivity to integrate devices, transport cities, and so on. We can consider the concept of net zero cities, which focus on energy self-sufficiency and reducing carbon emissions. And of course, considering security and privacy, we need to protect data and critical infrastructures with new digital security technologies. Okay? But to conclude this presentation, I think that this sentence summarizes very well what I tried to show you guys today. Innovation occurs at the intersections. I believe that this is one of the key takeaways from today's discussion, okay? Because innovation occurs at the intersections. The greatest advancements happen when technology, sustainability, urban planning, all of these concepts come together. Okay? So, as we discussed before, the collaboration between different engineers, urban planners, policymakers, technology experts, this collaboration is essential to driving minimum changes. Okay? So, just by integrating these different disciplines and using several technologies together, we can build cities and infrastructure that are not only intelligent, but also sustainable and resilient. And this is our focus nowadays. Okay? So that's it for today. I really hope you have enjoyed. Thanks so much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Caroline. That was great. Before I move forward in this, I am just going to post real quick in the chat window the link for the certificate and also my email address should you have any course questions. Um, in the meantime, if you have any questions for Caroline, there is a Q&A button at the top of the screen. If you click on that and write your questions there, we will operate from there for any questions about the presentation today. And in the chat window, just the standard chat is the link to the certificate. I will also be putting up a QR code here in just a second. So if you're using your phone and that's what you would like to do it on, that might make it much easier for you. So we do have a series of courses that do cover this topic. This will be sent to you by email. These are all linkable, or linked, so you'll be able to click on them and go to those pages should you be interested in any of these courses. In addition, in the chat very shortly, I'm going to link other webinars that Caroline has taught and a couple of her articles that she's written on this and other sustainability subjects. So if this is an area that's important to you, it should be, please take a look at that information. I think that you'll find it enlightening. It is all free, so help yourself to the information that I post there. In addition, we have several programs that cover civil engineering in general. So yes, BIM, yes, modeling, yes, sustainability, but also civil and structural as a whole. This also will be sent to you by email. So please take some time to go through those if you have an interest in pursuing a career in this area or gaining a qualification because you want to progress in this area. We would love for you to join us. We really are a great school. So here's a QR code. Please, if you have your phone, scan the QR code. I did post the link into the chat. If you want to follow the link, fill out the form. As I mentioned earlier, this is a time-sensitive code. Use it within 24 hours. It will become unusable, and we don't have really the resources to follow up on every attendee. So we ask that you please click the link, use the QR code, do this sooner rather than later so that you don't risk missing out on the certificate of attendance, which will be sent to you by email within 4 business days. Again, if 4 business days you don't have it, please reach out via live chat. I have provided my email address here. You can contact me. You can contact the school just at eit.edu.au and click contacts. Lots of different ways to reach out to us. Please feel free to do so. And I'm just going to open the floor for questions. Again, pop that in the Q&A. If you do have any questions, we'll wait for about 5 minutes. And if we don't have anything come in, we'll say thank you to everyone and hope that you have a good evening or morning wherever you are in the world. So in the chat for everyone right now, I'm posting those articles that I've just mentioned. I tried to keep them in order, so hopefully they are from newest to oldest, but we'll see. Caroline and I do a lot of webinars together, so I try to keep track of all of her courses. And then I will post this link again since I posted so much information in there. So no questions yet. We'll do it for about 4 more minutes and just leave the door open. Anyone who has a question, Caroline's happy to answer them. Somebody asked Caroline if you're a native English speaker.
No, I'm Brazilian, and here in Brazil we speak Portuguese.
So I'm American, if it helps. I was.
Yes.
But your English is excellent, Caroline.
Oh, thanks so much. I'm always trying to improve it.
I agree. You did a great job today, Caroline.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. It's always a pleasure to be here. And I think it's very important for us. EIT is amazing in providing these opportunities because these topics are very important for our industry. So it's always a pleasure.
Okay, just 2 more minutes. Yeah, if you can't see the QA button, go ahead and type your question here since we've got this open. Makanaka, I hope I said that right. Feel free to ask your question here. Can you read that, Caroline? Isn't
Yes.
implementing? Yeah, okay, good.
Isn't implementing sustainable development expensive? And does that mean that old infrastructure would be destroyed? Good question. Yes, implementing sustainable development does require initial investment. But actually, I always believe that it's important for us to think about the long-term cost savings, okay? Because when we are thinking about energy efficient buildings, smart grids, sustainable materials, these solutions can reduce operational costs, improve resource efficiency, minimize waste, okay? So this can make the city, the project more financially sustainable over time, okay? But regarding old infrastructure, it doesn't necessarily means that it needs to be destroyed, okay? But instead of this, cities are adopting retrofitting strategies. And this is totally related to the sustainability concept, okay? So the idea is that existing buildings and existing infrastructure will be upgraded with sustainable technologies, okay? Because I think I mentioned this when I was mentioned some examples of environmental, social, and economic impacts. When we think about social impacts, it's important for us to think about how to preserve historical and heritage information, okay? Because this is part of the society history, okay? So to preserve historical and functional structures is also very important for sustainability, but we can do that using sustainable technologies to upgrade and to retrofit these structures to improve the energy efficiency, the resilience, the performance of the facility, okay? So the idea is not to replace everything. It's more about improving what we already have while planning smarter for our future. Okay.
Are there any other questions? There was a question in Q&A, but it was about scholarship, Caroline, so I took care of that.
Okay.
I don't see anything else except for the QR code. Oh, there is one. How can these smart methodologies be implemented within the African region?
Um, Well, I live in Brazil, so maybe I'm not the most suitable person to answer that, but because this is a localized question, so we need to consider available resources, infrastructure, several conditions. Okay, but all these technologies, all these methodologies can be applied in any place. Okay. Of course, it's very important for us to understand. We always discuss that in our courses, that each project is unique, each region is unique. I can't replicate the same solution in Australia, in South Africa, in Ghana, and in Brazil. The aspects will be different, and they should be considered. Okay, so for example, we need to adopt cost effective techniques, but to do that we need to use local materials. We will find sustainable materials, but we will prefer to use local sustainable materials, and maybe prefabrication techniques to reduce construction costs, but also improving energy efficiency, etc. Okay, but there is always an opportunity to create collaboration between governments, private investors, tech companies, okay, to fund and scale smart infrastructure projects. And the idea is that this will happen worldwide. Okay.
And Matthew mentioned, and Matthew, it's a really great point. One of the major obstacles to implementing the sustainable aspects in some countries is political interest. And it's true. And sometimes that can't be overcome until the political side has no choice. So I would definitely suggest vouching for it, putting together white papers, writing about it, bring attention to it, basically stomp your feet and scream and wave your hands until somebody starts paying attention. When you get buy-in from somebody high up, then other not so interested parties have to take an interest because they can't forever turn their back on what big interests are it just can't continue that way forever. But often it takes a huge amount of work to get it there.
Yes, I totally agree. And of course, political community leaders need to be involved in this conversation, but we are evolving over time.
Mhm.
This is very true here in Brazil as well, but we need to do our part in our own projects and in our reality.
So there are three more questions, and then I'm going to call that the end because we are past time. But Matthew said you talked about BIM versus CAD. How best can the two tools be integrated to enable us to have proper analysis, let's say during road project designs?
Okay. How best can the two tools be integrated? Okay. Um, So actually, BIM and CAD tools serve different purposes. Okay, we can integrate them, but it's not mandatory. Okay, many professionals start with CAD because they are more used to it. But I, for example, I don't do that. I totally transitioned to the BIM technology. I work as a civil engineer here in Brazil, and all my projects are based on the BIM methodology because, in my opinion, it makes more sense to focus on one single methodology since everything that I can do with CAD, I can do with BIM. Okay, but the point is, there are multiple software applications available in the market based on CAD and BIM. So we can use CAD for detailed drafting, initial layouts, okay? Because CAD is great for 2D drawings, alignments. You gave the example of road design. So we need to consider this to define road geometry, cross sections, drainage plans. So in these kinds of 2D drawings, some professionals may prefer traditional CAD software, okay? But once the CAD layouts are created, um, they will probably import this into a BIM software. Okay, for example, Autodesk Civil 3D, Revit, InfraWorks. Okay, because we will have this 3D visualization, which will allow us to integrate this with other methodologies. Actually, when we are talking about road, for example, it makes much sense to integrate BIM with geometric information system, okay? For us to have real world data for the terrain modeling, the traffic simulation, clash detection. So it makes more sense to use BIM in this case, okay?
So Makanaka has the tough questions. I'm going to let you read through. They asked two questions there. I think partly we talked about that already in the politics of the world,
Okay.
but these are the final two questions, everyone. I want to thank you all, but I'll let Carolyn answer those and then we will call it. Any other questions, you can send them on to me and I will forward them on to the appropriate person and we'll see what answers we can get you.
Okay. So the first question. Okay, so I wanted to understand how exactly are we going have smart building cities when we don't really have a strong coordination and strong legal frameworks and policies that guide how construction should be done, with important involvement of environmental agencies. Does construction industry really care about engaging others? It all sounds good on paper, but implementation seems quite hard. Yeah, I agree. It's a valid concern. Okay, it's it's not just about technology. It really requires strong governments, policies, the collaboration with multiple sectors. Okay, so of course, without clear legal frameworks, um, this will be very challenging. Okay, but it's our responsibility to try to change this step by step. Okay, many projects fail because sustainability is treated as an afterthought rather than a requirement from the beginning. Okay, so I really believe that governments need to offer tax benefits, fast track approvals, create green building standards, but there are already many standards. I don't know if you have heard about that, but there is LEED, BREEAM, and depending on the country, some local sustainability regulations. Okay, so this is evolving, but sometimes we see this effort more realistic in Europe, um, and sometimes in specific countries around the world. But many countries are enforcing these mandatory energy efficiency laws. But of course, we need better enforcement and we need to evolve, um, because implementation is hard. I totally believe, I totally agree with you. Okay. And question two. Also, why can't we build new start buildings and cities in arid and dry areas instead of fertile land and also destroying existing biodiversity? Taking, for example, in Brazil's Amazons, people clearing land for agriculture or building towns and cities. Yeah, this is another complicated situation here in Brazil. This discussion is a major dilemma, but unfortunately, it is totally related with government issues. Um, Building cities in dry areas is technically possible, okay? But of course, it will require significant investment in water infrastructure, energy production, transportation networks, okay? So sometimes people prefer to focus on places where there are already natural resources, access to water, etc. But the destruction of the Amazon, it's very sad, and it's illegal, in many parts. Okay, the illegal land expansion, and it is related to a poor regulation, economic pressures, unchecked deforestation. Okay, so we really need to change the mindset and this is the government responsibility. Okay, we really need strict laws to protect natural habitats, to promote sustainable city planning. Okay, to balance all of these. The necessity of the economy growth, but also balancing this with environmental conservation. Okay, I hope I had answered your question.
Thank you, Caroline. We are well past time, so I'm going to go ahead and end our session now. Thank you so much for sticking around to answer some of these questions. Thank you all for great questions and important questions, especially about the politics surrounding being able to do sustainable construction or energy at all. Appreciate your time today. As I said, once I've closed this out, recording and slides will go out. It's usually fairly quick, but do give 4 days for that certificate to be sent out. Thank you again, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.